Welcome. You are joining with Geneva Times. I'm Chanka Jayasinghe. So we all know that Sri Lanka is recovering from an economic crisis, and we are really looking ways to capitalize on this moment and regain economic stability. So because of this, we are looking at various markets, various economies in order to make sure that our economy is recovering faster than we expected, and we are reaching our targets, economic growth targets, IMF targets, and everything. So today we thought about looking at an industry or a sector that is most of the time is not being discussed properly, which is mining. Today we have with us Dr. Sanjay Perera, who's a resource person for John Hopkins and former advisor of Ministry of Health, and also a convener of the Task Force Western Province on Road and City Safety under Clean Sri Lanka, as well as his former chairman of the Geological Survey and Mines Bureau. Welcome, Dr. Sanjay Perera.
Thank you very much, Chanka, for inviting me.
So I know that this sector is really not the main focus of most of the time, but yes, it's a very important, and it's a very important sector if you are talking about value added products and value added economic strength that we can get for our Sri Lanka, for our country. So let me start off the conversation like this: how significant is mineral mining to Sri Lanka's overall economy today when we are talking about when we are talking in today's context?
Thank you, Shankar. I think heavy minerals, including things like graphite, quartz, ilmenite, rutile, zircon, monazite, and rare earth elements, are not only important as an industry to Sri Lanka, but worldwide is one of the areas or one of the products that are in key demand right now. We have seen geopolitical issues between China and the USA on heavy minerals. We have seen countries like India and Australia and South Africa competing in this huge market, which has immense potential right now, because the demand is so high. If you talk about the latest technology, these are the requirements of the metals and the minerals. So as a country, sad to say, for the past 30 or 40 years, we have not exploited this natural resource which we have embedded in our motherland. And it's a very sad situation because countries like Australia and South Africa, they actually started identifying these resources, very recently. I would say about 15 to 20 years ago. And they have developed so fast. And if you take South Africa, in South Africa, heavy minerals exports is one of the key industries or key income sectors in the country. Australia is the same. Now Indonesia and Vietnam are getting. China is huge in this sector. So sadly, Sri Lanka has not, no government in Sri Lanka has focused on this sector and tried to develop this sector as one of the key foreign exchange earners to the country. Mm-hmm. So hopefully right now there is focus happening within the government and policymakers. So as countrymen, as Sri Lankans, it's our duty to take it forward and guide the government and the policymakers on how they should take it forward.
Just straying off from the main topic, if we talk about why this sector was not a prioritized sector in the previous regimes, is there a specific reason for this?
Yes, I think politics. Mm-hmm. We've seen, I will give a very good example. Take, for example, phosphate. Now, we are estimated to have millions of reserves of phosphate available in Sri Lanka, which can be mined, which can be harvested, and then exported and earn foreign exchange. Plus, we also manufacture fertilizer using phosphate. Now, every time the government or entity commences these projects, there are various, due to political, people who are, I call them political opportunities. Mm-hmm. They come forward, various NGOs who are sponsored by various countries who don't want Sri Lanka to develop economically. They pump money into various Sri Lankan NGOs and entities, and they protest against this development of mineral mining or mineral harvesting. Take phosphate example. Today there are 2-3 cases going on in the courts where injunction orders have been issued against harvesting of phosphate. If we harvested phosphate maybe 5-6 years ago or maybe 10 years ago, which we could have done easily, our country would have been self-sufficient in terms of fertilizer. We would have had food security. So it's a very pathetic situation that we are faced with due to politics, and also foreign funded NGOs who are obstructing the foreign exchange earning capacities and the economic development of Sri Lanka.
Before moving on to the next question, our viewers might be thinking, okay, what kind of experience do you have in order to really discuss this subject in depth? So if you can give us a brief introduction, if you can share with us what were the operations that you executed when you were at the Mines and Bureau, Geological and Mines Bureau, and what kind of a situation do we have from that perspective in the country?
Okay, the GSMB, or the Geological Survey and Mines Bureau, is the sole and key authority in terms of mining. So when you say mining, it includes quarry mining, it includes sand mining, mineral mining, graphite mining, phosphate. So everything, the authority and the decision maker is the Geological Survey and Mines Bureau. Unfortunately, until about 1 or 2 weeks ago, though the act of the GSMB was initially in the 90s, the act was drawn up under the Ministry of Industries, it was subsequently changed to the Ministry of Environment. So there was a conflict of interest there between a mining or harvesting operation and then protection of environment. So I think this was a huge obstacle to develop the country and in terms of foreign exchange earnings through mineral exports. So now this has changed. I'm very thankful to the current government for making that change happen. And it was lobbied by, I think, people like us also to a certain extent. So that's a huge step way forward in developing this sector. Now, as a former chairman of the GSMB, we basically explore the possibilities of developing this sector. What we should keep in mind is that, again, due to maybe political reasons, due to personal opportunistic reasons, even within the Geological Survey and Mines Bureau, we see certain officials trying to obstruct the development of the mining sector in Sri Lanka. I will give you one good example. There are certain geologists in the country who think that these resources have been there in Sri Lanka for 2000 years, and we have to reserve it for 2000 years to come. Right? So for whom are we reserving this? Right? So these are the things that are obstructing the development of the mining sector in Sri Lanka. So we try to change this. Personally, I try to change this, try to change the perceptions. So I'm hoping that the changes that we started during our tenure will actually be implemented by this current government. And this is the ideal time to make these changes. Number one, I think this government has realized the potential of developing this sector, and number two, this is a government which has enormous powers to change the policies, to change the acts, and also to make sure that the institutions who are in this sector, government institutions, change the act as well. They have to do a complete how do I say
Overall.
they have to do overall of them, the officials themselves. So we are expecting that to happen soon.
Great.
And sooner the better.
I see. Yes. So we all know that Sri Lanka has many rare minerals in the world, and Sri Lanka can be one of the major suppliers of minerals to the world. And we all know how minerals are important. We see even during the conflict between Russia and Ukraine, Ukraine is capitalizing on their mineral resources in order to fund the ongoing conflict as well. So when we talk about Sri Lanka, what are the untapped mineral resources that could transform the country's economy. I think you talked about one thing of phosphate. Other than that, what are the things that really could capitalize this sector by Sri
Okay,
Lanka?
so thank you. So when it comes to phosphate, being having food security Sri Lanka is key by tapping into our resource of phosphate, because fertilizer can be manufactured using the phosphate that we have. I think that is very key, and the government, the agriculture sector should realize this. And so that will basically phosphate. If you take phosphate as a mineral itself, that will provide us with food security instead of us running behind getting loans to import fertilizer and so on. So I think that is very key, that at least at this point we realize that, because what we need to understand is these NGOs or whoever who oppose harvesting of phosphate, we need to actually go back and rethink as to who is backing them. Right? It could be large fertilizer companies who are basically exporting fertilizer into Sri Lanka and profiting from that.
So, if I ask you a question like this, is it really worth it to really grab this opportunity and extract this phosphate and harming the nature without buying it from abroad?
Actually, see how. So I will answer about rehabilitation as we go along. Let me answer your first question. So phosphate is one area. Then secondly, take graphite. We have some of the best graphite deposits in the world, right? Countries like Germany, Japan seek our graphite.
Yes.
Because its purity, its clarity. But are we really reaping the benefits of this demand? Right now, only Bogala graphite is having fairly substantial exports, whereas whereas mines like Kahatagaha, which is again government owned, I mean, they have currently stocks of running into 3,000-4,000 or almost about 30,000 metric tons for the past 7 years. Right? So what have we done with this? Why aren't we exporting this? Why aren't we finding buyers? And I mean, there are plenty of buyers in Japan who want this.
Yes.
So why isn't it being done? Have we upgraded our facilities? Have we looked at new technologies? So why are we so lethargic in developing this sector? Now I will give another good example. Lubricants are manufactured using after forging graphite. You can manufacture lubricants. Now it's used for nanotechnology, for coatings. Right? It's used for coatings, for nano coatings. Graphite is forged, liquidated, and then used. Then, of course, for electrical components and so on. So, how much? I mean, we are sitting on massive deposits, right? How much have we extracted in terms of exports, or how much have we benefited in terms of exports from graphite? That's graphite. Then the next thing is quartz. Quartz right now has a huge demand, especially in countries like China and in India. Now, India uses it for basically for carving of statues and large, large statues and various things. China uses it for electrical and other components. So, have we really exploited this? Right? And green quartz, if you take green quartz, it's basically converted into a substitute ruby. It can be converted to a substitute ruby, and it has a value of a gemstone. So have we exploited this? Why aren't we doing these things? Why isn't anybody telling the government, look, this is what we can earn, this is how much we can earn over the next few years? Why aren't we exploiting these situations? Then if you come to heavy minerals, we have plenty of ilmenite. We have large deposits of ilmenite in our coastal belts. Titanium, not titanium, ilmenite, rutile, zircon, monazite. And as you know, monazite contains rare earth elements, which right now China and US are haggling about it. So we can be the biggest, one of the largest suppliers of these valuable minerals to the world, right? And that way we also become an important part of the geopolitical sector in the world. So we are not taking advantage of the current situation in the world.
So what is the block we have? What is the barrier we have to in capitalizing? Is it the government sector or the officials or the overall community not supporting this? Or is it like you said, the external pressures that really keeping us from getting use of these resources in our country?
I think all four areas put together. Biggest obstacles have been the politicians and the communities and the governments. If the government is strong, if the government is headstrong and has a backbone, they can basically clear the pathway. They can clear pathway uh, for mining for mining operations and exports to happen, and it can happen overnight. It can happen overnight. Right now, I know there are a number of mining companies waiting to commence operations. The delays are due to the government bureaucracy, due to institution delays, due to community delays, and due to the large number of large number of approvals that have to be obtained from about 22 stakeholders. Right, so investor who is investing over 80 million US dollars into a project, I mean, he's sent from pillar to post, and it takes over 3 to 4 years to come to a situation where they can even complete a environment impact assessment report. So if an investor puts that money in the bank, I mean, with his interest, he can live a jolly good life.
Yes.
Right. So why should an investor kill himself to come to Sri Lanka unless these pathways are cleared? And also, like I said, NGOs protesting against these harvesting operations is a huge obstacle. This has to be stopped. Because these are obviously backed by foreign countries who are in the same sectors and who don't want Sri Lanka to develop economically, or because our exports from Sri Lanka will affect their exports. So these are things that the government with a backbone has to stand up against and clear the pathway to reap the benefits right now. We shouldn't miss this opportunity right now.
I think it's been a discussion for a long time that we should have a single window for investors to come and get their permits and everything sorted out because of the really very hectic process that we have at the moment. So apart from having a single window for investors, what are other practical changes that Sri Lanka must implement at this very moment, as you said, to see an overnight change in this sector as well as investment overall?
Okay, one of the concerns that a lot of people as Sri Lankans have is the resource sovereignty. Because these resources which are embedded in the earth of our country are sovereign to us.
Yes.
So I think number one, the government should give priority to Sri Lankan owned mining companies. They should be given first priority. That is number one, because of the resource sovereignty, right? And we have plenty of, I think, Sri Lankan companies who are genuine, who have the investment capacity, who can actually commence mining almost immediately, and they are waiting in line. I know about 3 or 4 companies who are basically struggling to get to the mining license point, right? And these are Sri Lankan owned and top Sri Lankan names involved in this. So why are we going to other countries and asking investors to come to Sri Lanka when Sri Lanka itself has plenty of Sri Lankan investors, local investors, Sri Lankans, true born Sri Lankan companies, entities who have the capacity and who want to genuinely invest in this industry and start exports immediately. And this way, your entire 100% of your export revenue comes back to the country. It doesn't go out to another country. That is number one. Number two is basically we should look at private-public partnerships. Because, like I said, the minerals are they are 100%. They are basically it's owned by Sri Lankans. It's owned by the Sri Lankan soil, and there's a sovereignty attached to it. So I think the government should encourage private-public partnerships. In fact, recently I heard His Excellency mentioning that and I totally agree with him, that not a single government-owned commercial operation is successful, and I 100% agree with him. The reason is that government departments or government commercial companies have a lot of outside interference, right? You recruit people willy-nilly. I mean, if you take, for example, Lanka Mineral Sands, there are about 700 staff. Whereas if a private company takes it over, they can do it with 100, 125 people. So how the government has to bear the cost of these overheads?
The effectiveness and the productivity.
Absolutely, and the overheads, and also the lethargy. So basically, I think the government should. I totally agree with His Excellency. The government should, at this point, look at public-private partnerships. Again, because it's because there's a resource sovereignty attached to it, they should give priority to Sri Lankan-owned companies. And I think that's the way forward if you have to develop this industry overnight. And it can be done within the next 3-4 months. I guarantee you it can be done if the government opens up to Sri Lankan private-public partnerships.
I see. So you, in the beginning, you said that the Mining Act was under the Ministry of Environment. Then it has now again come back to the Ministry of Industries. So even though that obstacle has been removed completely, I still think there should be some amendments. Actually, you have actually provided a synopsis for the government as well, giving your recommendations regarding this. So if you can go through, if you can take us through this and give us a small summary of what amendments needed for this Mining Act and what are the other recommendations that you have given in this synopsis.
Okay, so one of the key things is public-private partnerships. I think that is key for us to quickly develop this industry. It's priority. Secondary, there should be an authority now that the Geological Survey and Mines Bureau has been taken under the Ministry of Industries. It is very easy for the Ministry of Environment to implement rehabilitation processes very strongly. I will give you a good example. Take government-owned Lanka Mineral Sands. Right now, when a mining license is issued to a private party, I mean, there are 1,000-odd questions which have to be answered in terms of rehabilitation. Go to a Lanka Mineral site, mining site, not a single area that they have mined has been rehabilitated for the past 15 years. So I think it should be served with the same spoon, right? What is applicable to the private sector should be applicable to the government sector. You can't serve the government sector with a different spoon, so to say, and then you have stringent regulations for the private sector. So I think now that this has been shifted to the Ministry of Industries, I think the Ministry of Environment will have more authority to implement rehabilitation. Rehabilitation is key. Earlier you asked me a question about the environment.
Yes.
So when a mining license is issued, let it be sand mining, let it be quarry mining, let it be mineral mining, graphite, anything, rehabilitation plan should be implemented. So, and also you don't dig the ground willy-nilly. You dig it in strips, right? So you finish a 20 meter by 100 meter strip, rehabilitate that, and then move on to the next one. The issue that we have in Sri Lanka in rehabilitation is it's not monitored, right? So now that the Environment Ministry does not have the burden of issuing license and protecting the environment both, I think they can have an enforcement unit. Having enforcement unit is key. And then monitor the rehabilitation after mining is done. So I think it's not rocket science. It's not rocket science. It's just that we need a proper implementation and monitoring process for rehab, especially for environment rehabilitation. I think if these two are done, I think I can assure you within the next 3-4 years, 3-4 months, we can develop this sector into one of the key foreign exchange earners in the country.
So according to you, if we really capitalize on this sector, we can actually pay off our debt completely as well.
Absolutely. I mean, we are looking at millions of tons of reserves in the country.
If you can give us some sort of values that these graphites calls in the market, what kind of values can we get for as a value-added product if we export it?
I will take Lanka Mineral Sands as a good example. Now, Lanka Mineral Sands holds the license or holds the exploration license. We call it exploration license in 64 grids. So, say a grid is 1 kilometer by 1 kilometer. And these are some of the best deposits in Sri Lanka. We are looking at over 60% of heavy minerals in the sand. Now, we have estimated at GSMB when I was chairman, we estimated that if Lanka Mineral Sands harvests minerals to its fullest capacity, we could have exported 190,000 metric tons of ilmenite a year. 190,000. Multiply that by $300, right? We are talking about billions. We are
Billions.
talking about billions of foreign exchange to the country. But how much have they exported for the past 15 years? 60,000 metric tons for the past 15 years. Right?
Yeah.
Take graphite, for example. Like I said, Kartaga has about 30,000 metric tons of graphite just sitting in their stores for the past 4-5 years. So what are we doing with this? And graphite is $4,000 a ton.
Yes.
So we are sitting on a gold mine, and we are going with a begging bowl to various institutions, begging for 2.5 million, $250 million, right? Whereas if we develop this industry, I mean, this is bigger than the government sector. And also, please keep in mind, if you take the government sector, we have to import raw material. So there is a cost involved in that. So foreign exchange goes out, and you are operating on a thin margin when you export the product. Whereas here, in minerals, you take a zero value sand from the ground, which is available. So there is no import to be done, except for your machinery. So there is no import of raw material. Your raw material is embedded in our motherland, in our ground.
Yes.
Zero value. You take it, you process it, and you make it a $300 product, right? I mean, you are talking about 300%, from $0 to $300. Right, a ton of graphite, it's just there. We have natural deposits running down veins running up to about 700 meters deep, right? You take these blocks, right, process it, you are talking about $4,000 a ton. So zero value, you make it into 300 and above valued product. Quartz, same. So like I said, this is an industry where you don't spend money to import raw material. It's there embedded in our ground. It's a zero value. You make it into a $300 and above export.
I have several questions with the time in mind. I want to quickly go through these questions as well. So when it comes to these types of sectors, integration is one of the main things that we have to look at. How integrate is this mining sector with industries and other markets in the country? So if you can give us a glimpse of how well integrated is the mining sector with Sri Lanka's broader industrial and manufacturing sectors?
Excellent question, Shankar. So basically, if you look at battery manufacturing, we have a couple of battery manufacturers in Sri Lanka. I think Horana, I know this gentleman personally. He manufactures batteries for this Indian company. I think it's called Emerald or this battery.
Yes.
He's a manufacturer here. So they require minerals to manufacture their what you call their battery components. We have a scientist here who does nano coatings. Right, he's already doing nano coatings for the train sector, for our railway sector in Sri Lanka. But what happens is he's actually exporting graphite from raw graphite, converting it, forging and converting it to his nanotechnology in India and bring it back again. Right, so all these industries can be developed in Sri Lanka. Of course, like I said, making titanium is a bit costly in Sri Lanka. The reason is that our electricity cost is very high and we don't have the required chemicals like sulfuric acid is not still produced in Sri Lanka. But I think 3-4 years down the line, when we develop our mining industry, I think the 3 or 4 Sri Lankan mining companies can get together. I think this is what we should drive at. The government could actually facilitate a mining processing zone in Sri Lanka, right? And the 4 or 5 Sri Lankan, especially the Sri Lankan owned, again why I'm harping is because of the resource sovereignty of the resources. The Sri Lankan owned mining companies can actually look at the possibility of having a joint titanium dioxide, titanium pigment, titanium sludge plant. So I think this is what we should plan 4 to 5 years down the line. But right now, separate the minerals and start exporting it and earn foreign revenue.
I think you answered one of my other questions as well. What should be Sri Lanka's short-term and long-term plans in this sector? I think going ahead, like what should be the vision for Sri Lanka's mining sector over the next 20 years in terms of economic, social, and geopolitical impact? As you said, we are currently in a very dire situation. We are going. We are trying to work with all these external parties in order to make sure our economy is stabilizing. and we are also sitting on a very resourceful sector like this as well. But we can't, really get into a fight, or we can't have some we can't get into bad terms with our allies such as China, India, or USA. So what should be the government's game plan here?
Actually, we don't have to fight with countries like India and China. They are our biggest buyers. So that's why I said we mine and we export it to China and to India and so on, or to Japan and Germany and so on. So they will actually work with us in collaboration with the country. So there is no conflict of interest here, because India needs these heavy minerals. As you know, I think Rolls-Royce is putting up a plant in Hyderabad very soon, which means they need more ilmenite for their engines. China is one of the biggest producers of titanium and battery components and so on. So they need our chemicals. Rare earth elements are in massive demand by the USA and China. So they are all going to be our friends actually. They are going to back the Sri Lankan government to improve this sector, right? Because they are going to be our buyers. So there is no geopolitical conflict here. But again, because of the resource sovereignty, again I'm harping on the fact that give priority to Sri Lankan owned companies.
Great. I think we have all the solutions that we need for Sri Lanka's economic stability here within Sri Lanka, but we just need to make sure that all the right policies are in place and all right people are in place in order to capitalize these markets.
Absolutely. So just to answer that, it's a shame that none of the previous governments actually got the support of professionals. So if you take our earth resources department in Perera University, Morit University and so on, I mean, they have some of the top geologists and mining professionals in the country. Have their advice been taken on? So leave aside people like us, we are administrators, but take the professors of these universities. I mean, they have the best knowledge in this industry in the entire region. In fact, some professors are even hired to countries like Africa and so on the mining sector. So why aren't we making use of their knowledge to develop this industry? So I think policy decisions should be made by politicians and leave the development of this to professionals. Politicians cannot get involved in the development of this sector. That's why I said PPPs or private-public partnerships are important. Let the private sector and the professionals handle the sector. Government should only implement, make sure that it's enforced and policy decisions taken.
I see. Thank you very much, Doctor. I think that sums up our conversation today regarding the mining sector of Sri Lanka. We have policies in place. We just need the right people to act on it. Politicians should be creating policies and let the professionals do the work. I think that's really sums up the industry really well. Thank you very much, Dr. Sanjay Perera. So with that, we are wrapping up today's discussion. We will join again with another discussion that shapes up Sri Lanka's economy and way forward. You're joining with the Geneva Times. I'm Chanka Jayasinghe signing out. Thank you very much.
Thank you.